And obviously, there's a lot of optimism around China's reopening. There's been a push for infrastructure investment domestically. I'm wondering globally, is there now a mandate to lend and provide budget support globally?
Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure to attend the meeting yesterday and made a speech about what this bank has been doing over the last 7 years. In 3 days' time, we will be celebrating the 7th anniversary of the founding of this institution. 202 projects in the total amount of almost $40 billion is quite something for a new bank starting from the scratch. But we have been able to achieve this by the strong support from our shareholders, which grows from 57 to 106. Against the geopolitical background and global economic situations, this bank certainly would do two things at the same time. One is to help developing member countries to fight against the pandemic and its fallout on the economies, and including also the disasters caused by the climate change. At the same time, we stay the course in providing financing for the basic infrastructure projects, infrastructure for tomorrow. So we do both at the same time.
And you certainly did that last year with countries like Fiji, Mongolia, Sri Lanka. Are you expecting to lend more and provide some more of that funding this year as well?
It's very much important based on the sound banking system of this institution. We have to adhere to the basic mandate of promoting economic and social progress through investment in infrastructure. At the same time, the bank must be agile and adaptive and responsive to the needs of some of these countries when they are in distress. So we follow this principle, and I think it has been working very well. It's very much appreciated by the member countries. As you know, the 4 Gs feature prominently in our bank, which is global, governance, growth, and green. And we stay the course, and we think it's very much important for us to strike a proper balance between the immediate needs and long-term development.
What about the balance when it comes to your current loan portfolio, given that we continue to hear from global institutions about the increasing debt load of some of these countries that we just talked about? Are you worried about more sovereign defaults?
Of course, I think it's quite a challenge for quite some countries when they have to deal with the indebtedness. But our bank has been following the basic principle of providing new money to the borrowing countries and also to prepare and implement projects by the high standards. So we have taken a look at the projects we have provided over the last 7 years. They are all doing very well. We think it's very much important not just to provide new money, but also to provide high quality support. So I think based on this principle and thanks to close cooperation between this bank and World Bank and ADB and others, I think we can help the highly indebted countries to turn around.
Let's take Pakistan, for example. There was the agreement and approval of that $500 million co-financing package last year. What other plans are in store? What more support can we expect this year?
We are working very closely with the Pakistani government. But you see, for the immediate support, we follow the basic principle approved by the board. We co-finance with World Bank or ADB. And I think this can ensure the high quality implementation of the projects. As for the basic infrastructure projects, we follow a view to due diligence rigorously. And I'm sure while Pakistan is in difficult times, I think we can help them and to tackle the current challenges.
And Mr. Jin, AIB has decided not to do business with countries like Russia, Belarus, and we also see other Asian nations, not just Pakistan, really dealing with some financial strain. defaults and in difficult situations. Are you finding it harder to actually commit to projects and to lend to those projects out there?
As you see, we have put on hold the projects for these two countries for further review. And we've been taking all the review on a regular basis to see whether it is possible to go ahead. But I think based on the sound banking system and the interests of all of the member countries, we are taking, I think, a very, very cautious approach. And I believe this is very much appreciated by all of the members of this institution.
What is the willingness to lend now? I'm just wondering, given we've seen investment into some of these Belt and Road Initiative, countries have sort of seen a bit of retrenchment during the pandemic. Now that the economy is opening up, do you think that investment can pick up quite quickly from China? Given at a time when China is dealing with quite a bit of domestic challenges.
China, I think, can handle its own domestic economic issues by its own macroeconomic policies. And as you know, China is also promoting very strongly the private sector development. Well, I'm concerned more about all of the rest of the members. I try to help them to recover their economy and to help them to resume the normal infrastructure projects as early as possible, because you see, it is the basic infrastructure for tomorrow which can help them sustain their economy. So in spite of the current challenges, we should not lose sight of the importance of doing something over long term. Of course, the days ahead will be very tough, but I think this is what AIIB, a development bank, is all about. This is a time we are most needed, and we should do what we should.
Exactly. Let's talk about the long term and not losing sight of the long-term goals, right? Because it's about really not only these investments, but them being green investments, especially green infrastructure like the AIIB focuses on. What are you seeing in terms of actual volume? And is there a concern that perhaps given the energy crisis, many countries are turning back to fossil fuels?
I understand. This is a very tough time, and because of the higher energy prices and high, for instance, gas prices, some of these countries turn back to burn coal. We keep communication with all of the members, and we clarify that while some of the policies pursued by the member countries are based on their own situations, as a development bank created in this 21st century, our job is to deal with climate change and other development challenges. So we stay the course. We provide financing for renewables. And it is actually the time when we think it's more than ever important to provide financing for renewables. Whatever the activities done by the member countries, our job is to do financing for climate change and mitigation and long-term development. So in this regard, and as you see, we aim at 50% of the climate financing by 2025, but we can achieve this way ahead of that. And also, we promote private sector development. We aim at 50% of the private financing by 2030. And this is certainly very much important for those countries to help sustain economy and achieve early recovery, because the private sector is so important for all of them.
And, maybe talk a little bit more about your ambitions here, AIIB's ambitions in tackling climate change, Mr. Jin. Excluding coal projects, for example, or excluding coal is one thing that's aligned with the Paris Agreement. But what about when it comes to gas, for example?
This is certainly it's a source of energy mostly needed by both the developed countries and also developing countries. Our job, as I said, as I highlighted, is to provide financing for green projects, climate change mitigation and adaptation. So I think it's very much important for us to work closely with the borrowing countries. We support your green projects.